So watch me transform this dark skin beauty from start to finish. If this is what you would like to see, keep on watching. So please do not forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. So first thing first, I'm going to be cleaning up the face in order to remove dirt and oil on the face. Then I went ahead to hydrate her skin with my Kiss Beauty, after which I dried it up immediately. After that, I'm going to be moisturizing her face with my Cetaphil moisturizer. So I'm applying it all over the face. So after moisturizing, I'm going to allow it to dry into the skin before moving on to primer. For primer, I'm going to be using this Kiss Beauty Foundation Primer on her face. This is going to give the makeup a very good base to sit on. So while doing your skin prep, make sure every product dries up before moving on to the next products. After that, I'm going to be using this Zaron Hydrating Lip Balm to moisturize her lip. So moving on to foundation, I'm going to be using this L'Oreal foundation in the shade C10. So I'm using my flat brush to apply it all over the face. So for easy blending, I'm going to be spraying the face again. This would help the foundation to blend into the skin. Then I went ahead using my damp beauty sponge to blend the foundation into the skin. So this is what it looks like when the foundation is well blended. After that, I'm going to be locking it up with my Kiss Beauty spray. This would help the foundation to stay intact. Then I dried it up using my fan. Moving on to contour, I'm going to be contouring the face with my Avour foundation in the shade 035. So whenever you want to contour your face, it's best to use a shade that is 2 to 3 shades darker than the skin to contour the face. So after contouring, next I'm going to be applying cream blush. So I'm just gonna mix these two shades from my Blossom lip palette and apply it above her cheekbone and a little bit on the tip of her nose. So after that, I'm going to be blending it using my beauty sponge. So this is what it looks like when you apply your cream blush. Moving on to highlight, I'm going to be using my Avour concealer in the shade A20 to highlight the inner corner of her face. So next, I'm going to be using this Flawless Ivy concealer in the shade 708 to highlight the outer corner of her face. So while applying your concealer, don't pack too much concealer. A little goes a long way. So after that, I'm going to be using my beauty sponge to blend the concealer on the highlighted area. Then I went ahead applying more concealer on the inner corner of her face because I want her inner corner to be more highlighted than the outer corner. So before blending in the concealer, I'm going to be contouring the nose with the same shade I used in contouring the face to contour the nose. Then after that, I'm going to be blending it with my beauty sponge to avoid any harsh lines. Then I went ahead blending the concealer underneath her eyes. So after blending in the concealer, next is to set the concealer on the highlighted area. I'm going to be using my Merak setting powder in the shade Nutmeg. So before setting, I'm going to be using my beauty sponge to blend the areas underneath her eye to avoid creasing. So next, I'm going to be setting with my beauty sponge. So while setting, do not pack too much setting powder. Take it one step at a time and make sure you set properly before moving on to the other side. So I went ahead using a fluffy brush to set the areas underneath her eyes properly so there won't be any creasing. So next is to set the rest of her face. I'm going to be using this shade from my Royal Makeup Powder palette to set the rest of the face. So while setting the rest of the face, make sure you use the exact shade of her skin tone to set the rest of the face. Do not use a shade lighter or darker. So for dry contouring, which is low light contouring, I'm going to be mixing these two shades from the same powder palette to set the cream contour I applied earlier. So someone asked me if you can do only dry contouring without cream contouring. Yes, you can do the dry contouring alone and it will still come out very well, but the most important thing is how you blend and how you apply the contour. So after that, I'm going to be using my Tara blush palette. I'm just going to take this shade here and apply it above her cheekbone. So next I'm going to be mixing these two shades here to contour her nose. So after that, I'm going to be using this light shade from the same powder palette and apply it on the areas I highlighted. So after that, I'm going to be setting the face. This would help to reduce the powder effect and also help the product to sit properly into the skin. After setting the face, I'm going to be drying it up before going on to baking. For baking, I'm going to be baking with my setting powder in the shade Cinnamon from Merak Cosmetics. So moving on to the brows, I'm going to be using my spoolie brush to brush her brows. So next I'm going to be applying some setting powder on her smile lines. This would help to reduce the smile lines. Then I went back to the brows. So I'm going to be using my brow tamer to lay the brows nicely using my spoolie brush. So next is to outline her brows. I'm going to be using my carrot gel liner, the brown shade, and my angled brush to draw the outline following the shape of her brows. So after drawing the brows, I'm going to be highlighting it. So I mixed the two concealers I use in highlighting the face. I mixed the both of them together to highlight her brows. So after highlighting, I'm going to be blending the concealer so it doesn't get dry and look tacky. After that, I'm going to be setting the concealer with this shade from my powder palette. So moving on to eyeshadow, before you apply your eyeshadow, you need an eyeshadow primer. So I'm using my Viange eyeshadow base to prime her lid. You can also make use of a lighter concealer to prime the lid. This would help the eyeshadow to pop and last. So after that, I'm going to be applying some setting powder on the outer corner of her lids. Whenever I'm putting on the eyeshadow, it won't trespass. So after that, I went back using my eyeshadow blending brush to blend so that it would look neat and well blended. Then next, I added a little setting powder on the areas underneath the eyes to avoid fallout from the eyes. Moving on to eyeshadow, I'm going to be using this purple color here and apply it on the outer corner, then gently blend it towards the inner corner. So I decided to go for a colorful color because it's been a while I did a colorful eyeshadow for you guys. So after this, I'm going to be using this other shade from the same eyeshadow palette. I'm just gonna use it and apply it on her crease. Guys, I don't even know the name of this eyeshadow. It's been a very long time, since 2016 I got it, so I can't remember the name and the name is not written on it, so just bear with me. So I went back applying more of the purple eyeshadow. So one thing with eyeshadow application is how you apply and blend. Like, blending is the key. If you want your eyeshadow game to be good, is how you apply and how you blend. So next, I'm going to be applying this shade of eyeshadow on her crease from my Blossom eyeshadow palette because I really want this eye look to pop. So like I said, I'm going to be using this shade here from my Blossom eyeshadow palette. So next, I'm going to be using this darker shade of purple from my Blossom eyeshadow palette. So I mixed it with this other color here to line her upper lash line. So next, I'm going to be using that brush I use in applying the eyeshadow base. I went back using the brush to blend the inner corner of her lid. So after that, I'm going to be using this light pink shade and apply it on the inner corner of her lid. So I went back applying more of this purple eyeshadow. I went back using it to blend it out so that there won't be any demarcation. So I went back applying some setting powder on the outer corner of her lid to define the lid. So next I'm going to be applying a little bit of this purple shade blush on her cheekbone. So next I'm going to be lining her upper lash line with my carrot gel liner and my angled brush. So next I'm going to be prepping her natural lashes with my Zaron mascara in order to give it volume. After that I'm going to be lining her lower lash line with my carrot gel liner. So next I'm going to be wearing her these lashes from Chi Lashes. After the lashes I'm going to be pressing her natural and false lashes together. So after that I'm going to be prepping her lower lashes with my Zaron mascara. So moving on to the lip, I'm going to be using this shade from my Blossom lip palette to outline her lip. So after that I'm going to be topping it up with this color here from the same lip palette. So guys, this was the initial lip I did before I changed it to the previous one you saw earlier. So next I did her reverse contour again because I really want the face to be lifted up. After that I'm going to be dusting off the powder on her reverse contour. After that I went back with that blush brush. I went back using it to blend the blush again so that everything will be blended. So for her lip I'm going to be using this Gentle Dove lip stain. So after applying it I'm going to be blending it with my blending brush. So I went ahead topping it up with this classic lip stain. This is a brighter color. So at this point I was contemplating if I should leave the lip color or change it, but I went ahead to do the rest of the face. So I'm going to be dusting off the excess powder on her face. Then after that I went back contouring the nose again. So after contouring the nose, I went back using my powder brush to blend everything together. So after that, I'm going to be applying some lip gloss on her lip. So next, I'm going to be setting the face with my Kiss Beauty Fix Spray. So after that, I'm going to let it dry into the skin before applying some highlighter. I'm going to be using this Maybelline Glow Dot highlighter. This is going to help the face to glow. So at this point I wasn't feeling the eyeshadow again. I had to add this lighter color from my Blossom eyeshadow palette. I only added it on the inner corner of her lid. So after applying it, I used my eyeshadow blending brush to blend. So after that, I'm going to be setting the face for the last time. Then after setting, I'm going to let it dry into the skin. And this is the finished look, guys. I told you guys I wasn't feeling that lip color, so I decided to change it to this one. So tell me, between this lip color and the one I applied earlier, which is the best for you? To me, I prefer this. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys. Such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me?